Good evening, and welcome to ETS News 29. I'm Caleb Supernorth.
And I'm Nicole Karadimitriou. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Tonight's top story, the United States response to the coronavirus. As of April 22, 2020, there are now over 826,000 cases of the coronavirus in the United States. According to an article from the New England Journal of Medicine titled, First Case of 2019 Novel Coronavirus in the United States, the Center for Disease Control reported that the first case of COVID-19 in the United States was found on January 20th, 2020. It has taken the entire world by storm, as over 2.5 million cases of the virus have been reported worldwide. These numbers come from Johns Hopkins University. Everything about the coronavirus relating to the United States will be covered tonight as I go over the United States Coronavirus Task Force, a timeline of the large events involved with the virus, and the United States response to it. Starting off with the Coronavirus Task Force, it is led by Vice President Mike Pence, along with Response Coordinator Dr. Deborah Birx, Director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases Dr. Anthony Fauci, Surgeon General Jerome Adams, and many more. The goal of the Coronavirus Task Force is to ensure the health and protect the American people. The task force often meets daily to update the nation on the latest information on the virus and what they are doing to help control it and aid the American citizens. Overall, it would be important to go over what President Donald Trump and the White House administration as a whole have been doing in response to the virus. President Donald Trump has declared a national emergency, signed legislation that secured $8.3 billion, signed the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, created a White House Coronavirus Task Force, named Dr. Deborah Birx as the White House Coronavirus Response Coordinator, held teleconferences with our nation's governors, approved major disaster declarations, implemented early travel restrictions on China and global hotspots. American citizens returning from travel-restricted countries are being screened. Agreements with Mexico and Canada to restrict non-essential travel, return aliens who cross between ports of entry, raise travel warnings to their highest level for hotspot locations like Japan and South Korea, expanded airport screenings. State Department issued a global level 4 travel advisory. FDA issued emergency approval for new tests. Legislation to assure that Americans can be tested for free. Working to open drive-through testing sites. Working to develop a website where Americans can easily determine whether they need a test. Funding to help accelerate the development of rapid diagnostic tests. FDA cut red tape to expand testing. FDA empowering states to authorize tests. The first $2 trillion stimulus bill to aid the country with the coronavirus, and much more to combat it. Rear Admiral John Polochek mentioned as of April 2nd's Coronavirus Task Force briefing, the federal government has already pushed out over 27.1 million surgical masks, over 19.5 million N95 respirator masks, over 22.4 million pairs of protective gloves, over 5.2 million face shields, and over 7,600 ventilators to the states, looking to require over 100,000 ventilators by the end of the year. Again, this is as of April 2nd's Coronavirus Task Force briefing at the White House. These supplies are getting delivered by FEMA. On a different note, Small Business Administration member Jovita Carranza stated on April 2nd how, quote, small business is the backbone of American economy, end quote. Now, what does that mean? Well, her and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin explained that during that briefing, how the 30 million small businesses in the United States are going to be front and center for them, such as raising interest rates on loans to small businesses, sending checks to American citizens, which was, again, also mentioned by President Donald Trump, and just being able to pay their workers and keep their business above water while the country is shut down. President Donald Trump signed a stimulus plan to aid the American people, which included key provisions from the Senate, such as payment within weeks for anyone making less than $75K a year, which can vary the amount you get depending on, for example, how many children you have or if you're married, along with the $350 billion of loan guarantees for small businesses, expanding unemployment benefits, $500 billion for loans for distressed companies, $130 billion for hospitals, and many other aspects of the $2 trillion stimulus bill coming from the White House and the United States Senate. Lastly, we will go over a timeline of the bigger events during this coronavirus pandemic. On January 30th, there were two events, one being that President Donald Trump creates the Coronavirus Task Force, and the other being that the WHO declares global public health emergency. On January 31st, 2020, President Donald Trump issues a travel ban from China. On February 11, 2020, the WHO announced that the coronavirus disease will be known as COVID-19. On February 29, 2020, the first death was on American soil. On March 11th, there were three events, one consisting of the WHO declaring the coronavirus a pandemic, The second being that President Donald Trump bans all travel from 26 European countries. And the third being that the U.S. declares a national emergency due to the coronavirus outbreak. On March 27, 2020, President Donald Trump signed a $2 trillion stimulus bill to aid the people during the coronavirus pandemic. On March 31, 2020, roughly 80% of all Americans are under lockdown, 35 states. On April 2, 2020, there were two events, one consisting of the worldwide cases topping 1 million of the virus. Also on April 2nd, President Donald Trump announces that the New York Javits Center will become a hospital to treat COVID patients, along with some other hospitals across the United States to be built. On April 10th, 2020, global deaths from the virus topped 101,000. On April 14th, 2020, President Donald Trump plans to stop funding to the WHO. On April 16th, 2020, the United States has over 22 million people unemployed. And on April 21st, 2020, President Donald Trump plans to suspend immigration to the United States for 60 days. It is important that we all stay safe and follow the guidelines from the state and federal governments. This has been Caleb Supanar with the coronavirus in the United States.
Thanks for keeping us updated, Caleb. Now, how Massachusetts has been handling the situation. Overall, Massachusetts has been pretty hands-on with the coronavirus situation. On March 10th, Governor Charlie Baker declared a state of emergency. It is crucial to slow the spread of the coronavirus, and many precautions have already taken place. Those entering Massachusetts are urged to self-quarantine for 14 days. Additionally, a stay-at-home advisory has been put out to the state. This means that citizens are encouraged to stay home, but may go out for essential food trips, medicine trips, and organized time spent outside and getting fresh air or exercising. Grocery stores and pharmacies are required to provide at least 1 hour a day, where only those over 60 years old can easily access the store in order to reduce the risk of coming in contact with the virus. Moreover, stores must complete extra cleaning procedures and plan accordingly so that they ensure that employees and customers don't come in within 6 feet of each other. Governor Baker also encourages that people who are getting outside for fresh air are still complying with the rules of social distancing when doing so. Other measures have been taken place, include the closing of non-essential businesses and the cancellation of the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year. Many grocery stores and restaurants now use curbside pickup. Orders are placed online and then brought to the customers' cars at stores. The purpose of doing so is to increase social distancing and reduce the virus from spreading. Lastly, decisions are continuing to be made on how to handle the predicted outburst of cases. The amount of coronavirus patients is said to increase during the month of April. With this known information, it has been decided by Governor Baker to turn the DCU Center, Boston Convention, and Exhibition Center into field hospitals. Overall, Massachusetts has remained very cautious surrounding the coronavirus situation, and more information can be found at mass.gov.
Shrewsbury High School is doing a lot to fight against the outbreak of the coronavirus. The first actions the high school took in an effort to stop the spread of the coronavirus was the cancellation of school on Friday, March 13th, and then the further cancellation of school for 2 weeks. Afterwards, on March 25th, Governor Charlie Baker announced that all Massachusetts schools will be closed until May 4th, and now even longer. As of April 21st, Governor Baker canceled all Massachusetts schools for the remainder of the year. The high school has also canceled all spring sports and dances like sophomore semi and all the proms in an effort to combat the COVID-19 virus. On March 28th, Superintendent Joe Sawyer announced that Shrewsbury High School, along with all Shrewsbury public schools, would adopt a strategy of remote learning at home. What this means is that students will receive 2 required assignments from teachers on Schoology. Teachers also have the options to have their own scheduled Zoom lessons with students, although these are optional for students and teachers. This has all been done in an effort to continue education despite the coronavirus outbreak, and the fact that we are all stuck at home and unable to come at school is leading to that. Teachers will give feedback on assignments students submit, and some teachers have created their own ways of keeping in touch and assigning work. Some have even created optional Zoom video chat classes for further learning at home. The entire department at Shrewsbury High School is working hard to make sure students continue to learn, which is very important for students these days.
Senior Events Update. With the unprecedented closure of school due to the coronavirus, many questions have been raised about the status of the long-anticipated senior events. These events include senior picnic, senior prom, commemoration, senior faculty dinner, and, of course, graduation. All of these events were scheduled to take place during the week of May 22nd through May 28th. The listed events do not actually happen at Shrewsbury High School. Senior picnic is at Dean Park, senior prom and graduation are both held at the DCU Center, commemoration is at Mechanics Hall in Worcester, and senior fac is at the Best Western in Marlborough. All of these events are in jeopardy of running on schedule, if at all. Administration will be working over the course of the next several weeks to assess the situation as it continues to develop.
Next, we will talk about meals for students. Many students come to school each day knowing they will be fed. The students whose families can't provide a sustainable meal night and day, the ones who go to sleep hungry. These are the students who get the greatest impact from school closures. With all the food that the schools have and nowhere for it to go, schools are making grab-and-go packages for families in need who rely on the schools to be fed. In Massachusetts alone, over 300,000 students rely on the free reduced-price lunch program for about half of their daily nutrition. Organizations like Food for Free out of Cambridge are working tirelessly to provide meals for students who need them. All of the meals come prepackaged in plastic bags and won't go bad, so the recipients of the meals can keep them for when they need it. While not every school is doing this, over 47 locations for food pickup are located in Boston alone, not to mention the rest of the state. Though not every child will be able to obtain these meals, the hard work of these citizens to provide the necessary food needed is helping so many hungry children, which is very important. This information is from Beth Nichols, who is the food service director for Shrewsbury Public Schools. Quote, "We are delivering breakfasts and lunches to 17 families twice a week on Monday and Wednesday. On each of these delivery days, we provide meals for 3 days. We are delivering a total of about 130 breakfasts and lunches on both days. We are also providing curbside pickup of meals at the high school 3 days, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 11 to 12:30. We have about 20 to 25 families taking advantage of curbside pickup daily. Generally, 80 to 85 breakfasts and lunches are picked on these days by families." End quote.
AP testing. This year, AP testing will look a little bit different to many students taking the exam. Due to COVID-19, students will be taking the test at home with open books and open notes. This year, the test will be changing its format, as instead of many multiple-choice questions, there will be 1 or 2 short-answer questions that will be timed separately. The test will be 45 minutes instead of the usual 3 to 4 hours, and will be taken on devices such as computers, tablets, or smartphones. Students will write or type their responses down and then submit by taking a picture. The College Board is also committed to helping any of the students taking the test and aiding kids with access to the technology that is needed to take the exam. Shrewsbury High School counselor and director of AP classes at the high school, Ms. Ariel, provided some thoughts on the changes. She states, and I quote, "While something like this is unprecedented, on a scale, this is big. I believe that the College Board is doing their best in a very short amount of time to accommodate students who have invested so much into these classes. And I know our teachers at SHS are committed to helping our students succeed." The College Board is doing everything that they can to help students obtain access for AP testing this year.
Next, we will go over the differences between the flu and the coronavirus. Although there aren't many differences between the two, CDC states that the symptoms for the coronavirus include fever, a cough, and shortness of breath. If you have these signs, it is recommended to stay home for about 2 weeks before going to see a doctor. After these weeks are up and the symptoms are still there, you should go see a doctor. Signs of the flu include fever, cough, sore throat, and runny/stuffy nose. As you can see, these symptoms are very similar. So during this time, if you have these symptoms, it is recommended to stay home and rest up. Staying home is a very important thing right now for everyone. It is highly recommended to stay at home for all cases except necessities. If you are still working to try and stay clean and healthy, you can do this by washing your hands or having hand sanitizer on you. Or cleaning the workplace around you can help. Other ways of staying safe are on the CDC page. I recommend you go check it out. That's all for tonight. Thank you for joining us on ETS News 29. I'm Caleb Superdor.
And I'm Nicole Carr-Dimitriou. Stay safe, everyone.